Alright, this is section 1-1, variables and expressions for Algebra 1. The essential question is, what makes an algebraic expression? And we begin. So we're going to talk about a bunch of vocabulary first. Variable, you might know what this is. You might have done this before. A variable is a symbol, usually a letter, that represents a value. So for example, you might have seen x as a variable, or y, or z, or n, sometimes t for time. It's just some letter, and that represents some number that can change. An algebraic expression. Algebraic expression is a math phrase that includes one or more variables. So it must include one or more variables. If it doesn't have one or more variables, it's not an algebraic expression. So for example, 3x plus 5. This is algebraic because it has an x in there. That's a variable. Let's go with 2 divided by y minus 100. This will be algebraic because there is a y, and that's a variable. We can have more than one. So 4n minus 2s. These have an n and an s variable, so this is an algebraic expression. If I just did 5 minus 2, this would not be an algebraic expression. Numerical expression, a math phrase with only numbers, not variables. So 5 minus 2, this would be all good. If you did 5x minus 2, that'd be no good. There's no variables here. That's numerical. But the big one to remember is algebraic. This doesn't come up much. All right, let's talk about word phrases. So we want to convert a word phrase to an expression. Expression is a math phrase. So let's take this first sentence. 32 more than a number n. So n is our variable, so I'm going to put n down. 32 more than. Whenever you see the words more than, just like right here, more than means you're adding. So you're going to plus. You're going to add. So my expression, if it's 32 more than, is n plus 32. Next one, 58 less than a number n. So n again is the variable. And less than, whenever you see less than, this means subtract. So if I'm going to subtract 58 less than means n minus 58. 8 times a number n. Again, n is the variable. 8 times a number. When we say times, that means multiply. Multiply. You might also see product. Whenever you see product, that also means multiply. So 8 times a number, n times 8. You can also write this as 8n. Whenever you have a number variable, it is implied that you multiply 8 times n. The quotient of a number n and 5. So n and 5. So we have a variable n, and we're going to have a 5 somewhere. Whenever you see quotient, quotient means you're going to divide. So dividing n and 5, you put the n on top, first number on top, second number on bottom. So n on top, 5 on bottom. So n divided by 5. Let's try some others. So these are a little bit more complicated. 3 more than twice a number x. So x is my variable. 3 more than, so this more than is going to be a plus. And then there's going to be 3 plus. Twice a number. Well, what does twice mean? Twice means 2 times. So twice a number x, when you see twice, that means 2 times a number x. So we're going to have 2 times the number x, or 2x, and 3 more than that means a plus 3. The next one, 9 less than the quotient of 6 and a number x. So x is going to be there. And we're talking quotient here. Again, that's divide. So 6 and a number x. So it's the quotient is, the first one is on the top, the numerator, 6, and the second one, x, is the denominator on the bottom. 9 less than that, when you see less than, that means subtract. So we're going to subtract 9. The product of 4 and a sum, and the sum of a number x and 7. Okay, it's a little bit more tricky. So we got an x and a 7 in here. So sometimes you want to just work this backwards. So we got a product of 4 and the sum of a number x and 7. So when you do a product, this means multiply. And you're multiplying 2 things. So the first thing you're multiplying is the 4. So the 4. And the other thing you're multiplying is actually this whole part here on the right. The sum of a product of x and 7. So before times the x plus 7. When you say sum, that means plus. So x plus 7. But we got to put that in parentheses. because you do the x plus 7 first and then the 4 times. So 4 times x plus 7. Another way to write that is you go 4 parentheses x plus 7, because this implies the 4 times. Let's work backwards. So I start with an expression. I need to find the word phrase that matches. The first one is 3x, or 3 times x. Sometimes instead of x here for that gets kind of confusing, so let's do 3 dot x. That also means multiply. The dots mean multiply when it's in the middle. So 3 times x, a word phrase we can do it. Well, let's be consistent with what we used before. And one way we mentioned multiply going back here is we said 8 times the number n, or we said product. So I can go 3 times the number x. So 3 times a number x would be one way to do this. There's multiple ways you can write the phrase. I'm just picking this one. The next one, x plus 8. So let's write that out. Well, for plus, we use the word sum. So I want to use the word sum. That's one way you do this. So I'm going to say the sum of x and 8. So the sum of x and, actually, let's be consistent. So instead of just saying x, a number x. When it's a variable, because we don't know what that number is, a number x and 8. Could also have said 8 more than a number x. Next one, 10x plus 9. Well, 10x plus 9. Well, we got this sum going on here. We could use sum again, or let's change it up. We'll do the more than. So it's going to be 9 more than. 9 more than what? Well, it's 10x. 10 times x? Let's call that a product this time. 9 more than the product of 10 and x. Of 10 and a number x. So just being consistent here. And yeah, you could use different language. It doesn't have to be exactly what I do. Let's do the last one. N divided by 3. And that's one of those, the quotient one. So we can say the quotient of a number x and 3. So it's the quotient. The quotient of a number x and 3. And that's it. These are examples of what you can do. You don't have to do it this way. Let's take a word problem here. So the table below shows a height above the floor of a house of cards and depends on a number of levels. What is a rule for the height, and give that rule in words as an algebraic expression. So looking at this table here, you got to kind of figure out what's going on. You got the height of the table here, which is at 24 inches. And then looking at this pyramid of cards, this house of cards, each level is 3.5 inches. So this first level is 3.5, and then everyone after that is going to be extra 3.5. So what happens when you grow the number of levels, like you only have 2 levels here, the height is going to be 3.5 inches times the 2 levels plus 24. You're always going to have this plus 24 out here because that's the height of the table, and each level is going to add another 3.5 inches. So what's the rule for the height? Well, if we had n here, you're following that pattern just like, so we're going to 2 to 3 to 4. So if we plug n in for that, that pattern is going to be 3.5 n plus 24. There's the pattern. Instead of going 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, follow the pattern, it's going to be 3.5 times n plus 24. Give the rule in words and an algebraic expression. So how would we do this? Well, 3.5 times n plus 24. Well, we can go 24 more than. So let's start with that. This first plus 24 is going to be 24 more than. And it's more than what? Well, it's 3.5 times n. So it's going to be, let's say we say 3.5. Well, no, let's say more than the product. Let's be consistent with that. The product of 5 and a number end. That's one way to do it. Good. All right, these are examples. I'd pause it right here, try these out for yourself, and then I will do the answers. So pause, and we go. What is the algebraic expression for each phrase. The product of 9 plus a number t, so, or 9 and a number t, so product means multiply, so that'll just be 9t. The difference of a number x and 1/2, that's 1/2, 1 divided by 2. The difference means subtract. So your difference of x minus 1/2. The sum of a number m and 7 and 1/10. Well, sum means add, so we're going to add these. M plus 7 1/10. The quotient of 208 and a number n. Quotient means divide, so I can do it this way. 208 divided by n. I can also write this as a fraction, 208 over n. Both of these would work. Let's do the last one. So this example, pause again. And let's go. Use words to describe each algebraic expression. So 6 times 6c, we can go the product of 6 and the number c, a number c. The next one, t divided by 2. Well, we can write that as the quotient. So it's going to be the quotient of a number t and 2. The next one, x minus 1. Well, we can call it difference. So we can say the difference between x, a number x, and 1. The last one, 3t minus 4. Well, two parts here. So we got to do a difference, but then your difference of this product here. So I'm going to say the difference, and I abbreviated difference, but as that, between, we'll say the product of 3t and 4, of 3 and a number t and 4. Wow, that's kind of confusing there. And there's tons of ways to do that, but that's the way I did it. And we're done.